Alright, I got the head off here. It had some junk down in the cylinders here. Didn't look too great. This thing had supposedly sat, or it was sitting in a lean-to, but there wasn't. But the roof on the lean-to is pretty much non-existent, so it's basically like just sitting outside. And I had a rag shoved in the exhaust, so beach down here. I stopped some of the water, but it wasn't great. Got a copper coated head gasket in it. Things don't look too bad in there though. I think it'll clean up pretty easy. Haven't really checked the cylinder wall. I think all the crosshatch is gone though, so well, no. Still see some of the crosshatch in there just a little bit, so maybe we'll get by just honing and putting a set of rings on it. We'll see. No, I never tore into one of these things before, but I'm probably start with the flywheel, I guess. Start taking it off next. This build, any other tractor I can figure out pretty easy, but these things are such a rare or odd duck that kind of hard to not like any other tractor. I don't know why they couldn't just put like a 4 or 6 cylinder in it, but this is what they wanted. Alright, got the pistons out of here now. Had to take the die grinder and go in here and polish that lip down a little bit. There's a real good lip right up top there. We're going to go ahead and have it bored because of that. I don't want to break the ring when I put the new one in. I'll tell you, if you guys ever do one of these 2 cylinders, it is a little bit of a problem, especially if luckily these ones are stuck, but I don't know how you'd ever get the pistons out, because you can't really get in there to drive on them or push them out or even pry them out or anything on the rods. Luckily they came out pretty easy with the WD-40. I thought, you know, that if it ever was, you ever came across one that was stuck or something, you always drill a hole with this and put a bolt in it and pull it out, but that's just not really a good way to do that. But I think we're going to take the crank out next here, and it's got a little scoring in it. I'll probably let the machine shop decide if anything needs to be polished or go ahead and turn the thing. So I'll go ahead and get that out next. Alright, I went ahead and took the block part off first. Want to get that out of the way. That's kind of weird. You can't get a ratchet handle on but 2 of the bolts, so it's kind of a pain, but it came off. If you ever take one of these apart, remember this block also has a bolt here and a bolt here underneath. You got to get from underneath that holds it in. Because I sat there and was prying on it, couldn't get it to come, and then I was looking around and oh, there's 2 more bolts there, so that's what we did. But anyway, I got to take the whole clutch housing off here, and to do that you got to slide this tire out, which I slid these in over in Indiana when I picked it up because it wouldn't fit on the trailer because they were like all the way out here. But these are kind of stuck, so the other side was free, but this side is stuck, so so I had to do a little heating and some WD-40 and whatnot, so we'll see if it'll move again. I had it moving just a little bit. There we go. We're getting somewhere now. Really would have liked to messed around at this side for like an hour and a half trying to move it over in Indiana. I had a very limited supply of tools. Not so great jack. And yeah. kind of a good idea when it works, which I think most of the time they do work. It just, this one, the tractor had happened to have been sitting a while, and just like anything else when it sits, things freeze up. It might be a little while before we get the 4210 going, or I might work on it some, depending on how I am with these, get caught up on these projects. Dad, so today's Monday, and Dad is splitting wood Saturday and got his hand caught in the log splitter, so he's down for a while. Took the tip off of one finger, and the other finger it just peeled the skin off of it, but he's down about that, so he's not gonna be doing a whole lot in the shop for a while. Well, thankfully that moved right there. That's, I need to back that other one off. When I'm done with this thing, I'm going to set them back in. Said the guy can't haul it around on a trailer, but I think that ought to give me enough room to get this clutch housing out. Well, I'm going to see them old rusty things will come out of here now. Alright, got the clutch off. I'm gonna have to do a little work on it, but I'm gonna wait till the lever doesn't stay. Another fine John Deere idea, hand clutch. Anyway, the lever doesn't stay engaged, or you really got to push on it to get the detent to work to hold the clutch. So I'm gonna take the clutch apart there and figure out what the deal is, if it needs new detent balls in it or whatever it's got in it for that. I'm going to go ahead, looks like I'll probably take that off there. Get this clutch housing off. I'll probably wait for another day to do the clutch when I'm waiting, or do it while I'm waiting on parts at the machine shop to be worked over. Alright, got the brake housing off of it here. I'm going to go ahead and take these levers off, and I think we're ready to pull the bolt out or pull the bolts out to take this cover off, get the crank out. Maybe. Brake housing barely fits right here. You're supposed to back the adjusting screw off all the way, and it will not fit unless you do that. I mean, there's not hardly a 1/16 of clearance there for it to come out around that shaft for the drum to come off the housing. How long is this thing? bolt must be frozen in there. Maybe it's welded. Well, I'm gonna go look at the shop. Alright, I think we're about ready here. Got a couple more bolts left. Got the nut off that shaft where it can pull out. The gear case can slide out over it. The drip fan in place. So yeah, that's a handy. These are very handy. Take a 55-gallon drum and cut it down, and a very handy thing to have around the shop when you're doing any sort of work with housings like this, because 5-gallon buckets don't quite cut it sometimes. And if you drop the tool in it or something, it's not as deep, or you don't have to go fishing quite as deep for oil in the oil if or to get it back out. Alright, I think that's about it. Get my persuader out here. Dowels or something it's sitting on. There it went, I think. Starting to come. I'll tell you the worst gaskets out here. Yep, there's the pan. Well, I don't know if that's going to be big enough. Use that bucket and then let it drip out in the pan afterwards. Lost my train of thought. I had something brilliant I was going to say. Can't remember what it was. Oh, hardest gaskets, and if you ever worked on Olivers, you know what I mean. I've got one more bolt there. If you ever worked on Olivers, you know what I mean. If you've ever PTO, trying to get the PTO assembly broke loose from the rear of the tractor, I swear they put them things on there with bolts. And once they were on there for a couple of years, I think you could take the bolts out and be fine, because I really don't think they would come loose. Them things get so stuck on there. I think that's part of this housing. Actually, maybe not. Nope. Yeah, that's not part of it. About half, there you go, about half the day looking for where I laid the tools down I need. A little bigger one. And also on them Oliver PTOs, if you don't ever put silicone on that gasket or any other type of adhesive, they seal up pretty well. And if you do, then you might as well just hook a bulldozer onto the PTO to try to pull it off if you ever got to take it back apart. Start that. Well, it's gonna start one of these so it don't go flying off of there and hit the floor. Well, there we go. Come back over here and said that could be a problem there, so maybe it's lining up on that shaft. Well, dig a little deeper in the shop manual. There's the gear case off. There's 2 gears that go on that shaft there. Real nasty looking in there. Probably never been off. Well, it might have been off there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty nasty. I'll clean all that up. Parts washer's gonna get some good use. So I can go ahead and try to get the crankshaft out today then. I wanted to show you guys this on the crankshaft before I pulled it out of here. There, got a fiber washer for a thrust washer in there, and I think it's about non-existent, as you can, I would say we have 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch of end play in this thing. It's amazing it still runs, or supposedly ran decent, but a little bit of end play there. Alright guys, got the crankshaft out here. Kind of a little bit of a joke to get it through that hole. I had to get it turned just right and then kind of do one of them numbers, but we got it out. So I think other than that, I just got the oil pump left to check out on it, and then I think about got it torn down as far as I can. Got the crankshaft over here. They got an actual, it's like a cam bushing style bearing in them. It's not 2 halves, it's just one big piece. So I'm gonna run them up to the machine shop this afternoon. I think we're gonna have to have the crank turned and wet. You can kind of catch your finger on some stuff. Yeah, these are pretty bad there. So I'll do that. Now the rods checked out on it. They do bushings putting them. And I think that's just about it for the teardown, so we'll catch you guys later.